are back on Buildface TV. I'm your host, Mr. Ben, and today I'm joined with...
Me.
with Whitman, and we are going to look at the last few cards that were revealed to the collective on Facebook today. These are the cards out of the Secret Avengers box, which technically comes out today, but given how hard it was for us to get Civil War, I'm not expecting it till next week.
Yeah.
So let's look at these last few cards and see what kind of goodies they got here for us. So let's start with Hawkeye.
That's the female Hawkeye.
That's Kate Bishop, which is a character I'm a big fan of. The Matt Fraction run on Hawkeye, which focused on Kate Bishop as well, was a beloved part of my comic reading experience. But let's look at this versus card.
I've never ever read a comic with that.
As a 2-cost, 3/2/1 with range. So just on stats before we look at the rest of the card, what do you think?
It's okay if we ignore all the powers. I think that the 3 attack with range, that's pretty good.
It's
2
okay.
cost, but the 1 health, of course, I don't like that. I like 2 health characters.
The range makes the 1 health not as punishing because she's going to be able to do what she wants to do safely.
But we don't know what she wants to do.
I mean, unless
exactly.
the other person has range. Well, let's look at her powers. Quick, because I see quick draw here. So while she's ranged attacking, she can't get hit back. So
that's awesome.
Even if...
That makes her awesome.
It almost makes me wish they made her a 4/1 instead of a 3/2. So she leaned a little more into that glass cannon-y-ness. But this is fine. Her power, electric arrow.
This turn when...
Main phase power.
Yeah, main, pay a blue. This turn when the thingy Hawkeye thingy, I don't know what you call those
mantle
things. But yeah, so when Hawkeye strikes a defender, put -1/-1 counters equal to her attack on the other characters in that defender's row, divided as you choose.
Could be pretty good.
I mean, now that makes me want that 4 attack and 1 defense even more.
Well, if we're talking about like a big combo, and this would take a lot of cards, but if you have a blue and a green and a might makes right, she attacks and puts 7 -1 counters on every other character on your board. Like, if I'm playing Black Widow and my opponent's putting all their characters in the front row because they don't want to let me get any experience, then I play Hawkeye. My 2-drop has the ability to board wipe. I mean, at 7 attack, she could be board wiping 4 or 5, some 6s. Even some Omegas at 8, which, I mean, we're getting a little crazy there. But that could be really big.
Anybody can one-shot that Vulcan character.
That is a 4-card combo, though. So, I mean, how powerful is this? As far as just a general use 2-drop, she seems quite good.
I like this card.
Even without the electric arrow, she's playable
really good.
With 3 range that can't get hit back. Kind of feels a little bit like Punisher in that respect. Obviously, Punisher's a bigger attacker, but she's kind of like a 2-drop version of what Punisher does. Only her power, instead of letting her stick to the board longer, like Punisher's, her power lets her clear multiple enemies in 1 attack.
Yeah,
which could be really big.
I like this card.
She seems good.
It's kind of like
maybe not every deck.
I want to say it's a worse version of the Fing Fang Foom.
Worse version of Fing Fang Foom?
Because Fing Fang Foom, he attacks an entire row.
He also costs 8.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is a 2-cost, 2 in a way does the same thing as him.
Similar,
they get to put -1s on the row instead of attacking the entire row.
To get her big enough to be able to hit at 14 would take a lot of work.
Also, another thing is, I think that she has a better part of Fing Fang Foom. And Fing Fang Foom, I'm just going to say it, their attack combines to hit his defense.
Mm-hmm.
And this character just does -1s. So it's not really like she's attacking a whole row, which can be better.
Which is actually better, yeah.
Yes.
If the attack values are equal, if you buff her up to be as big as Fing Fang Foom, her electric arrow power, while it does cost a blue, and Fing Fang Foom's is free,
it's still extremely
she's
good.
better than Fing Fang Foom if you've made the investment into this 2-drop to get her attack to be high enough.
Yeah, this card can get very nasty in my opinion.
Well, she can declare 1 safe attack, ranged attacking, and then the rest of the row she can take out without, like you said, without them getting a chance to hit her back. So
yeah,
pretty
this
good.
Card,
Seems like a pretty
I
good 2-drop.
like this card a lot. They're probably gonna make their way into some tournament decks.
Okay, Patriot.
I've seen the Patriot.
This
that was
art,
like the Iron Man Patriot thing.
I feel like this is some of the most like.
Wait,
if you go to Marvel and say I need some artwork, this is I feel like I've seen this artwork on so many like licensed things, and just everywhere.
That Patriot is holding Captain America like type shield. He's
the World War II style shield.
Yeah,
sure.
And isn't there like another version of Patriot where they're wearing like their own Iron Man armor?
Well, Iron Patriot is a different character than Patriot. Iron Patriot does have like Iron Man style armor with a Captain America
I'm just gonna
color
say
palette.
that's kind of hilarious.
But if I remember right, the guy in the Iron Patriot armor is actually Norman Osborn when he was director of S.H.I.E.L.D. after the fallout from the Civil War events. Yeah. I think that's right, but it's been a long time since I read that stuff. This is a different guy. Yeah. This is like, you know how DC has like Teen Titans and like Young Justice, that show we like? This guy is off like Young Avengers, which is essentially Marvel's version of the Teen Titans. So this is kid Captain America, essentially. Yeah.
I feel like there is... Nah, never mind. I was going to say, I feel like there is a actual, like, younger Avengers team, but nah.
Well, yeah, it's the Young Avengers, right?
That sounds too...
Too on the nose? Not a good name? Okay. So this was... 3-cost, 5/3/1.
That's a good attack on 3.
It's okay.
And it has bulletproof, so...
The bulletproof does push this guy from being okay to actually, I think, having some use.
Yeah, this character is...
This 3-drop could just beat up on a main character for several turns if he goes unanswered. And if you're playing, like... I don't know, Black Widow has range, right? If you're playing like Black Widow, and she's got nothing for him.
Yeah, I was just going to say, bulletproof is extremely good for him because if a character has range, they can't attack him, even if they aren't attacking them through a ranged attack.
And look at what that does. So let's say we're playing...
But they're on the same team affiliation.
We're playing Civil War Draft Cube, and on turn 2, I play this and feel really good about it. And then on turn 3, you play this and just eat my 2-drop alive in like a super clean 2-for-1.
I actually don't think that would be how that works because she wouldn't attack him, but she'd use the -1s to kill him.
But he could attack. It's my turn now.
Yeah.
So I attack your 3 attack 2-drop with my 3 defense 3-drop, and I just eat your guy in a value trade. Like, this is a clean answer for the card. If she gets initiative and gets to attack into him, she still... No, she can't strike. So she'd have to attack somebody else and kill him with -1 counters.
And the thing is, if you're playing against a deck that has like a lot of range through that kind of thing, this card can barely, like, it just can't die sometimes. I'm guessing.
Yeah, if your whole deck
is like attacking from the back row and like staying
there was a version of Thor that I drafted before Thorigins where basically the check on the cards was, do they have range? Because I wanted to be able to have big Thor up front and then a bunch of ranged team attackers in the back row. So and there are decks where this guy can just
die basically if you're playing that kind of deck.
And you look, he's got 1 health, so he'd be legal in the what's the format with Life's Too Short format.
Yeah.
Which is a format that already had a very strong showing from the Black Panther main character in Photographic, just on the basis of having bulletproof as a power. That guy was a relevant force in that format.
So yeah, this guy is pretty good.
Yeah, that bulletproof is a really strong keyword because it just shuts off.
Also, I think I see a Wiccan in the background.
Like, how many characters in the game have range? Half? Probably not half.
A lot of characters.
Like somewhere between, I would say between a third and half, somewhere in there. Just can't hit this guy ever. That's...
Yeah. It's a good
Yes.
Vision?
Yes. Yes. This art.
I like this.
So this art appeared in Original Versus on a card called Now I'm Playing Dirty. And I am so happy to see it show up again in New Versus. Yes, it's a character card, and the character that it is not featured in the middle, but he's doing something so awesome. Dynamic. Yeah.
I haven't even read this part. I did, like I've said before, I haven't actually read most of the Civil War story, but this art it's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't need to know what's happening. It's awesome. But I'm guessing what's happening is when he's sticking his hand through, it's causing a disruption for the armor suit with the electronic.
This, if I remember right,
because
this happened towards the end of the Civil War. So there were two parts where Captain America got the upper hand on Tony in a fight. One of them, he shook his hand, and Electron scrambled him, which we have already seen as a card. And then the next was, I think, the final fight. And Vision disables Tony's armor, and Captain America is winning the fight, beating him. Should I not tell you this? Do you not want to know spoilers? Spoilers for Civil War, 15-year-old comic that if you haven't read it. But Captain America is beating him up and winning, and then he starts to look around and sees Taskmaster getting flattened. That's for you, John. By Invisible Woman, and sees Spider-Man punching and kicking his way through all these dudes and then taking out Mr. Fantastic, and Captain America starts to cry.
Because everybody's just, it's kind of chaos.
And there's innocent civilians who are like running from the chaos. There's people getting hurt. There's heroes getting hurt. And he says, I surrender. And Spider-Man's like, Cap, you surrender? What are you doing? We're winning. And he says, everything but the argument. Because his whole point in being against the Superhuman Registration Act,
it's a better world,
was that it's ethically wrong to do. And now he was so focused on proving his case, and it became about him and Tony more than it was about the law, that he realized he had compromised himself ethically, and at that point he surrendered. And that's why I love Captain America. Like, that's one of the reasons I love Captain America so much.
Yeah, I actually love Taskmaster a lot, but he
didn't have a good showing in that issue.
It does make sense that he can be defeated by a invisible force. But
well, he beats up Mr. Fantastic as well, and Sue, even though she's on the same side as Taskmaster, she's like, "You smack my man," and then boom. Okay.
Taskmaster's whole thing is that he can mimic things, and that's how he can dodge a lot of attacks. But if you can't mimic something that doesn't have like any muscle to have tails for, that's like Taskmaster can dodge things because he knows he has tails within their muscle, and that's how he has.
He can't mimic their superpowers though. Yeah. So he got flattened, which was an old versus card too. So anyway, little bit of trip down Civil War story time there.
But that's an awesome.
Let's get back on this card. Love this card art.
6 cost Vision mantle thingy, because you told me that means.
Do you know how mantles work?
I remember when the first mantle thingy came out with the Nova thing, I'm pretty sure. So
just for anybody who's not familiar with how mantles work, this has the same name as Vision, but it is not the same character. So like Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, is clearly not Clint Barton, Hawkeye. So the name Hawkeye, the title, refers to Clint Barton. The star, Hawkeye star, refers to Kate Bishop. So those two characters are not unique. They can't be used to power each other up, and they can be on the board at the same time, because they're actually two different people who just happen to have the same name.
And also
which is maybe not
have awesome bow skills.
Yeah, and also have awesome bow skills. It is a little bit... I suspect if Danny and Ben started with mantles in mind from the very beginning, they may have handled it the way Old Versus did, where they had the title of the card and then they had a blank called Identity, where they would give the card kind of a subtype, and that was the way they differentiated between Dick Grayson, Batman.
We have an uncut sheet of Old Versus cards behind us.
I think the way they did mantles in this game maybe was something they came up with after the fact, and it has been revised a couple times. So that, anyway, I don't want to... Oh, look, John is saying some stuff.
I saw that at first, but I'm not going to do that thing.
That's funny. As soon as John logged in, he's like, now you're talking trash about Taskmaster?
Yeah, I saw that comment the second it popped up, but I wasn't going to bring it up because we were talking about Civil War and stuff.
So mantles are a way of saying that this is not the same...
It's not the same vision
as a different vision.
But it still is a vision.
Yeah, so it's comic book flavor... so moving on, if Vision at 482,
so it has flight range, 482 health.
That seems decent stats on 6.
I like this.
Again, they're giving us big numbers on pretty much all the cards.
And then physical disruption. If Mantle Vision would strike an enemy supporting character in melee combat, you may have him wound that character instead. So he can just straight up wound things. Just wound.
So
that's awesome.
The reason this is good is think about how many aggro decks end up in a position where they're like, I just need one more turn. This guy gives you no, because it's only supporting character. Okay.
But it can still clear out a board so you can get that character.
You can do multiple wounds in a turn because it doesn't turn the character face down. It just drops a wound on him.
But the thing is, that's better than normal. This card can literally one-shot 2 health characters.
It's if he would strike. So you're not replacing his stun with a wound. You're replacing his strike with a wound. So you can attack into Galactus and he drops a wound on him even though he didn't stun him.
Yeah, which is awesome.
That's pretty good.
It's great.
I mean, if this worked on a main character, I would think this would be the new best top-end card for every aggro deck in the game. It doesn't do that,
overpowered,
to be clear.
if it
I
misread
it. I don't know. Well, it doesn't, but I don't know if it would be overpowered. Maybe, probably.
I've had some things where I'm winning, I have them at 1 hit point, and then I just can't hit them again because of the way they start playing.
This guy is a wound acceleration card, and it's not just wound acceleration. Okay, so in some ways he's worse, because if you send him into Galactus, you put a wound on Galactus, but you don't stun him. So he's still there. He doesn't get Galactus out of the way.
But he still wounds him. And
but he
let's be fair.
Can stack an extra wound, and he can put a wound on something where he didn't earn it.
Yeah.
Probably has some utility.
I feel like you are really putting this into place. This thing can one-shot 2 health characters, basically. It can literally just straight up kill things.
He can't, because it's a replacement effect. If he would strike, instead of striking,
and then
he puts a wound on.
And then there are some extremely big characters that are balanced because of their 1 health that this guy can just clear off the board immediately.
Yeah,
this character is extremely good, that ability. And it happens every time.
Yeah, It's going to take a little bit of finesse. Hey, Banana, shout out. Shout out to the patrons. If you like what we're doing, patreon.com/thebuildphase. So it is going to take a little finesse. So you look at a card like Hulkling, which Team Apex didn't like our take on that. They said we didn't like him enough. And that's true, because when I look at a 6-drop, I don't go, ooh, I could play this on turn 9 and it'd be good. Anyway,
I want to play this on turn 6.
Yeah, which is where he's not good. Hulkling lets you completely delete a character out of the way.
But he replaces it with a...
probably a better effect than this guy, right?
But the thing is, Hulkling has pretty good stats. And he also doesn't have 3 health.
He does have 3 health.
Which makes it... I think it makes him still worse than this character.
Well, if we're talking about just being able to remove a card... That's the only concern. We don't care when in the game you're playing it. We're just talking about a character that can remove somebody. Vision can only remove 1 health characters.
But here's the thing I want to say is Hulkling, you can't play him on turn 6. You have to wait till they play something big for him to do anything. This character, you play him on turn 6, and he's better. You can play him on turn 6, and he can clear off a lot of 1 health characters.
And if you think about him with the idea of him striking down the curve, there are a lot of characters in these boxes that have 1 health, which we've talked about a lot.
Technically,
so
he can always...
He could come down and range attack a guy with 8, 10 infinity defense and put a wound on him and straight up kill him, even though he didn't have the attack.
That actually is a thing that... that is a card. There is a card that can get infinity defense. I can't remember what it's called, but it's one kind of Hulk.
The Champion, I think?
Yeah, I remember doing it.
Oh, yeah, there's a Hulk who can get infinity.
I
That's infographic.
Saying, I want an infinity.
So I think this guy is going to have some use cases. He's going to have some places to play him. Does Prowler... you could discard him to a Prowler and have this effect online on turn 3? Right? So that's pretty decent.
Also, if you use a Fitzsimmons...
I think this is a playable card.
Turn 4.
I think this is probably a playable card.
It's a pretty good card.
I don't think he's flexible enough that you put him into every single deck.
Oh, yeah. They're very few cards that are every single deck.
Yeah, there's fewer and fewer staple cards as we get more cards.
Yeah.
Or new cards have a harder time becoming staple cards. So this card art, again, showed up in old Versus. It was on, I believe, the Marvel equipment card, the Cloak of Levitation.
I kind of like this art.
7 cost Doctor Strange, anti-reg, 8-10-2. That's a pretty decent stat block for
flight.
For 7. 18.
With flight as well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the ability to use vision as wound acceleration is definitely good, Banana. I will say, I think him being able to wound a character he doesn't deserve to wound
is pretty awesome.
Might be the better of the two things he can do, but both things are valuable. Taskmaster is a staple. Okay, John.
I think we need a Taskmaster main character.
Not wrong.
We always will need one.
So, the least amount of blood. Doctor Strange can't use his superpower, I must remain above the fray, unless there are at least 5 total characters with superpowers in KO piles.
And his superpower is in any combat, pay a green, cancel the combat. Doctor Strange can only use this power while in your hand. Reveal him when he does. He can use this power any number of times in each turn. That's kind of strange.
So he's blank. If you play him to the board as your 7-drop, he's just blank.
But if you draw him in your hand, you can cancel basically every single combat 4 times. Well, plus then there's wild resources and things like that.
I mean, if you on turn 8 play Monarch and you have 8 resources and your opponent tries to attack you with anything and this guy's in your hand, you can... Well, wait, will Monarch let you do that? His power might only allow characters that are in play to use superpower, use the locations as super... You know, Monarch turns everything face up in the row.
Uh-huh.
And you can turn characters and use them to pay for powers. That might only affect in-play characters.
I
Conceivably,
think it's just
though,
everything.
It does kind of seem like he could basically... If he can use Monarch, he's basically an infinite think again.
Yeah, like C-Stacks said just now in the comments.
If he can't use Monarch,
then...
I'm going to look up Monarch, because I think that's really important. Hang on. Pulling up Pocket Versus here. Shout out to Obs for this great and snappy versus search engine.
I'm the one who recommended the idea that you can swipe to the next card, because I got annoyed when I was trying to use it.
Yeah, very responsive to feature inclusion. Characters on your side can turn face-up cards other than locations and in your... So you can't use him with Monarch.
That's
because
annoying.
He's not on your side. He's not in play. You can only use that power while he's in your hand.
But the thing is, you can use Monarch to turn up the locations that you use. So if you play Monarch, you can use the green locations and turn them face up again, I'm pretty sure. With Monarch.
Well, and if you fit this into something like Bert's John Cena, where you're using Swain and Singularity and and Iron Man, so you're flipping stuff face up every turn, you could essentially... Now, it's not going to be infinite combat cancels per turn, but each turn you're going to get at least one free combat cancel if you've got the John Cena combo running.
But he has to be in your hand. It's not one of yours, not anything like that. He must be in your hand.
So do you feel bad if you play this guy?
He has a good stats. He has 2 health. He has flight. But
I think 10 defense with flight.
I think he's
You probably don't feel bad playing this guy.
I think he's a good card when you play him, but I just don't like how his thing, he has to be in your hand to even do.
Yeah, it's a weird tension because
but then again,
you want to run your cards to play them, but essentially this guy would be like call. You put this card in your deck, and the fact that sometimes you play him out to the board is just gravy. The reason you run this guy is because if you can figure out a way to loop enough physical locations, enough might locations, then you get to essentially do all the think agains all the time.
Another thing is, I feel like this character, I want to be able to play him to the board and use his ability, but at the same time I don't, because if you put him to the board, if he could only use his ability like most characters when he's on the board, he can be killed and then you don't have that ability. But you can draw this guy turn 1, and then from turn 1 just start spending greens.
No, you can't, because you can't use that until you have at least 5 characters with superpowers in the KO pile.
This
so
would be
stuff
good inside,
like...
This would be good inside a death deck.
Well, but stuff like playing a Sentinel and then powering it up 5 times isn't going to get you there because they don't have superpowers. So, and typically, with the exception of Charlie 27, typically really 1-cost characters that have superpowers don't see a lot of play. Now, Zola does, but Zola doesn't see play because of his superpower. He sees play because of his keyword text. And that's the way it is with most 1-drops, because you're punished pretty heavily if you're running a 1-drop that also needs another card to be optimal, because you only have so many cards on turn 1. So...
And... It doesn't say it has to be in your KO pile. I'm pretty sure it counts in all KO piles.
So he's definitely got to be... You have to build a character that's... build a deck, rather, that's going to have enough superpowers where this is going to reliably go off. And it probably... What turn do you think this needs to start?
I feel like once it does start happening... It can be really, really good, but it's going to be hard to make it start happening.
Even if you just sit on it, like let's say you build your deck, you have your low drop your superpower characters, right? You have no intention of playing this guy. Like C-Stack says, he's more of a plot twist than a character. Mm-hmm. And you get to like turn 4, your MC has 1 wound left, but you have 4 physical might locations in your row. So that's going to get you all the way to turn 8 just on the back of this guy and green Lokes. You can't turn this off with Nullifier because Nullifier can't touch stuff that's in the character's hand.
Yeah, there's
you can't turn it off. Dark Phoenix could turn off superpowers. Yes. And that's like just about it, right?
Yeah.
Because all the other stuff that says characters can't use superpowers, it's characters in play.
I mean... Cosmo, when you level up Cosmo, he can call that ability and it can't be used, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so, man. I think Cosmo is only going to be able to target... Well, I think you can call the power, but Doctor Strange isn't in play. So even a leveled up Cosmo, enemy characters lose and can't gain that power. So enemy characters that appear with the power lose and can't gain it. I don't think
No, because you can't lose a power in your hand.
Yeah, I don't think he counts as a character, as an enemy character, until he's in play on your side.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything other than Dark Phoenix that could stop somebody from being able to use it. So I will say, if this came out before the existence of In Good Hands, I would be way more crazy about it.
But then again, I just want to say, would you rather... If you have only the 4 deck slots left, would you rather have him or Jungle Hunter?
I think this might legitimately be a time where
you have a Jungle Hunter.
You have a 7-drop who's doing something so significantly unique from Jungle Hunter that
you can't exactly compare him, but then again, you can always...
I think in most games, skipping turn 8 is the most powerful choice on turn 7. This guy...
C-Stacks was talking about if the Helmet of Immunity, I'm pretty sure that might... If he's asking if it could stop it, maybe. Keep on pulling up Pocket Versus over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a great snappy tool. It's quicker than the website on my phone, for sure.
Where is there?
Helmet of Immunity. Any players... Oh, yeah, so Helmet of Immunity would stop this because that says enemy players can't use superpowers of the chosen type. So that is one way that you could stop this chain.
And that's players, not...
But that's a super narrow choice. Like, how many people play Brotherhood?
Brotherhood's not that good of a team affiliation. My first main character, the first character I ever played, I'm pretty sure was a Juggernaut, though. So,
yeah, 3-piece and a soda.
Well, that was what we named it later on. I made so many tweaks.
So this isn't totally unstoppable outside of Dark Phoenix. But like I was saying before I got broke my train of thought there, most of the time, most decks, the line that lets you skip turn 8 is going to be better than any other 7-drop on offer. Mm-hmm. And that is just generally true. Now, when you start comparing Jungle Hunter in terms of he's a 12-6 with Stealth and Invade versus this other guy with other words on him, that's where the comparison starts to erode and things are a little bit more even. I agree with that. I get that people, Jungle Hunter's not the best 7. Okay, but skipping turn 8 is often the best line. This guy could fit into a deck where you don't care about skipping turn 8.
Because this character... if I'm going to play a deck where I have a Dark Phoenix, then you probably want a Jungle Hunter to skip turn 8. But this character, it's... Yeah, like you just said, it's not most of the time probably going to be in a deck where you skip turn 8 because this card, all he wants is characters in the KO pile with superpowers and then using his ability to just cancel almost all the combats.
This is a deck that wants to turtle shell and just get to some kind of game-winning combo or chip somebody down by putting wounds on them. This guy goes into a deck where your number one concern is stopping you from taking wounds. Whereas Jungle Hunter fits into a deck where your number one concern is getting ahead in terms of resource advantage. So I think this is a legitimate, different option.
It's a good card.
Well, there's going to be decks where if you've got this guy, you don't care that you have to play turn 8 before you get to turn 9 because all that means is another green Loke. All that means is another combat cancel. And if you're also running things like Think Again and things like In Good Hands, like this deck is just like, we're going to have time limits on online events.
Yeah.
Like that's just all there is to it because this is going to get ridiculous. It kind of already has.
Isn't there that thingy that is, I can't remember what it's called, but I'm pretty sure there's the location or something that's like the COS or whatever.
Yeah, COS. That's in photographic.
Doesn't it have something to do with, I'm pretty sure having the infinite turn?
It makes it so you can't pay for superpowers using the color that it's attached to.
Could you use that to basically use this thing infinitely?
Well, yeah, but that'd be a weird format where you would have access to this card in your deck and COS.
I don't know why there aren't more formats where we can use both.
So COS would also stop Doctor Strange because it says enemy... No? Enemy characters can't use locations in their resource row with that type to pay for superpowers. No, I don't think that'll stop it.
I wanted to say that if you could use COS on yourself, basically, so that you do any kind of location, I'm pretty sure.
No, that's not what it does.
Only if it works.
COS lets you, if you attach it to...
superpowers.
It does two things. It lets you attach to a location on your side, which then when you flip it, it turns face up the first time you use it, every turn. So if you had that with this guy, that's infinite Think Agains.
Yeah.
It also makes it so enemy characters can't use
that resource.
Any location that has that type. So if it's a wild card that has green on it, they can't flip that either to pay for a superpower. They can throw locations from hand to pay for superpowers.
Yeah.
But again, the way it's worded, it says enemy characters. I think that has to target characters on the board.
What I'm saying is that he can do, if you put it through this character, I'm pretty sure you can use his superpower infinitely, basically, if you put it on a green.
Yes, if you had some kind of format where you could play photographic cards and illustrated cards.
I want
Doctor
more
Strange
formats
plus
that allow us to do that.
Doctor Strange plus COS plus 1 green is...
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
I mean, it's infinite Think Agains in the sense of you would get 2 per turn until somebody has to send 3 attacks at you, and then you run out of it.
But as long still really good.
As long as you paste it to only 1 use per turn, it would last forever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's see the next card.
That's a pretty significant card.
I like it.
Oh, is that it?
Is that it? We said the same thing.
Yeah.
That's such a
I guess that was it.
Thing. So short.
So, Hawkeye, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs medium?
Thumbs up, for
thumbs
sure.
up, yeah.
For sure. I think I'm gonna thumbs
Iron
up
Patriot?
this guy. Thumbs up.
Vision?
Yes. I feel like thumbs up on all
Doctor
these guys.
Strange?
Yeah. Doctor Strange might be a middle, but I think thumbs up.
I think Hawkeye is not necessarily meta dependent. I think this is a generally good card.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a card that you want.
Even without blues, she's okay. With a blue, she's great. Only gets better the further you're behind in the game. This could be a turnaround card by itself. This could take you from losing board position to winning board position on turn 5 with just a 2-drop. That's crazy.
It can be insane.
This guy's a little bit less exciting. It's going to be meta dependent, particularly if there's main characters in the meta who have range. This guy gets better.
Yeah.
For sure, better with MCs, but generally good. I don't think you feel bad about throwing this guy in your deck, but his overall value is going to rise and fall based on the meta.
Yeah. This character is pretty awesome with that bulletproof, though.
This guy is a decent removal card.
I like him a lot.
He's going to be less flexible, but less of a drawback than Hulkling. I'm not sure of his exact place, but I definitely think this card's going to see play.
He can wound any supporting character in the entire game that he wants to. Even if they have more attack, more defense than his attack, it doesn't matter. He can just wound any supporting character.
In one mode, he acts as wound acceleration because he lets you put 2 wounds on one guy in a turn. In another way to frame it is he essentially has infinity attack in that he can wound any character. So both of those modes are pretty good. What is going to be your in this particular 60 card deck? What role is he going to serve? That's going to be a little bit meta dependent.
He's probably going to be in a aggro deck where you're trying to put a lot of wounds and pressure the enemy, and this is going to be a character where you play it inside that kind of deck, but not to attack, but just to wound things without even having to.
Well, and if
have him be wounded
what
back.
You want is a character that can, the infinity attack angle, if that's more important to you, is being able to put wounds on a guy that you didn't
then
earn,
use that Hulk thing.
Then Hulkling might actually end up being the better call if that's what you're focused on. So both meta dependent and deck focused. Yeah. This guy I think is maybe the narrowest.
I want to say he's kind of complicated in where he's going to have to go. It's going to be hard to find him in the perfect deck place, but when you do find him where he belongs, it's going to be insane.
Remaining above the fray as part of a combo to frustrate the opponent, I think is going to be where we see the most use of him. I'll be surprised if this guy actually hits the board that often. I'm sure it'll happen sometimes because 10 defense on a flyer is going to stop some aggro decks.
This card, like you said, it's probably not going to hit the board a lot, but it's going to be in the decks not to hit the board, but to stop a whole bunch of combats.
I will say this guy, in addition to everything else he does, is a buff to Leviathan Demolisher and Court Death and any other power
I was going to say, yeah, you should play him in a death deck.
That removes KO piles from the game or gets characters out of KO piles and put back into their deck in the case of, I think that's what Court Death does. These are impactful, meaningful cards. I think this box is gonna...
It's gonna be good.
Wow.
It's gonna be good.
So if you had to pick one box, Civil War or Secret Avengers, which one are you more excited about?
Civil War has more cards.
Yeah, it's not a fair comparison.
It gives me more to play with, you know.
I think I might be more excited about Secret Avengers than I was about Civil War. That might be a lie. I don't know.
Even if I'm more excited for one of these, I'd take Civil War still because it gives me more cards to play with, and that means
from the perspective of a new player who's buying cards, if you don't have anything, you have to get a battles box because otherwise you don't have locations. So,
do you get main characters in Secret Avengers type boxes?
Yeah, I don't remember what they were though, but we're getting 3. It was Luke Cage.
Oh yeah. Someone else and someone else.
Was Daredevil one of them? No, he was a supporting character.
Yeah, we'll see when we get our hands on the box.
What were the other main characters? I can't remember now.
We'll see when we get our hands on the box. It's fine.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited for Thunderbolts too. I'd like to see a Venom, but on the other hand, with the next arc... Oh! We didn't talk about this before. So, I didn't show you this, but the next arc was already announced for Versus, which we knew the names of for a while, but Now we know what the next boxes are going to look at that one.
Carnage.
Maximum Carnage. And
yes.
Lethal Protector. So for anybody who's of my... Oh, Cable and Storm were the other main characters. Thank you, Banana. For anybody who's of my vintage, my first ever comic book story experience was Maximum Carnage. The first comic book my mom ever bought for me was, I think, Carnage's second appearance in Amazing Spider-Man, and then I was reading Amazing Spider-Man because they were coming to my house. So this was a really, really, really big story. And Lethal Protector was the first Venom miniseries, which it was another really impactful story on me. I could not be more excited for these boxes.
I cannot wait for a Carnage main character.
If we don't get a Carnage main character,
then I'm going to be very disappointed.
In the Maximum Carnage box.
That makes 0 sense. I actually
That would be terrible.
I've thought up a few of my own cards that I just kind of made on this Google Doc type thing, and one of them is a Carnage.
All right. So before we get too far afield, do we have anything else to say about Secret Avengers?
I think that this is going to be a good box.
Yeah, I think so too.
A good box. I can't wait to get my hands on this to play with some of these cards. Man.
All right. So I guess we're going to wrap things up here. Till next time, go win some games.
Bye.